One of the people that I've been looking forward to is a very good friend, somebody I appreciate greatly, and that is Miss Cheri Taylor. And I guess you're the executive director. Is that your official
Yes.
title?
Executive director
So-
for 25 years.
Oh, wow. So she's just got a little short tenure there, but she's with a Valley Adult Day Services. Some of you may know it as formerly Porterville Adult Day Services, but I'm glad that you guys updated the name because you'd really serve a much bigger community than just Porterville, don't you?
Yes, transportation is a difficult issue in the valley, especially for clients with dementia
Okay.
and caregivers having to use us as the facility to get respite, but they would have to drive clear to Porterville and back. So we drive past Visalia, Dinuba, then we go down to Woodlake, Three Rivers. We
Really?
meet at
Wow.
the bottom at a little gas station. And Springville, Tipton, we go all over in our little vans, 3 of them that get worn out, and we have to try to replace them. And gas mileage, etc. But you know, it's a need.
Well, so let me back up a minute and just tell you I'm so glad that you can make the time. This lady is always in the business of helping somebody, and I appreciate that. But let's talk a little bit first because we have a lot to cover, but how you're set up and one of the things that makes you different because you are not a for-profit concern, right?
No.
So,
When we started, it was just important, I think, in the industry that adult day services would start, adult day cares would start. So that's how I opened, was with adult day care. And at that time, actually, child care was the licensing that we were under because they hadn't really had adult day care yet.
wow.
But then within the last 25 years, things have changed. And just recently, about, I'd say 5 years ago, we started working on the proposition of becoming an adult day health care. I was part of the CADS organization on the board. And as I said on the board, they looked at me kind of funny because I was still one of the only remaining adult day programs, they call them now. They've changed the care to program. So I was an ADP, adult day program. And I was still in existence, and they just couldn't understand that, and I needed to become an adult day health program. So I strived to do that, but money-wise, it's the southeast part of Tulare County in Porterville, that just was a very difficult proposition because my building needed about $50,000 of work on it because once the health community walked into my building to put it up to the standards of today was going to cost some money because I'm in the old veterans building that was approved for the adult day program by state licensing and the city, and we had run it very well under that program. But so we had a lot of work to do that wasn't money out of pockets of so few just was not going to happen.
Sure.
So we decided to, as the political atmosphere has been changing lately, Medi-Cal, which would have been part of that health component, which would have been an avenue of income for us, was now, it's now kind of closing. We're feeling this, maybe we should not go into health, and we've decided not to stay an adult social day program. It seems to me that we're able to do more help to the communities around us that way, because one of the things that the adult day health programs had not learned was to fundraise, to market, to meet people where they were and try to find the money from other organizations out there, where it was, how to get it. We have learned that monies from foundations and grant monies from other companies, corporations, businesses will not fund us because, well, one, we take care of Alzheimer's dementia is one of the top things we take care of, and people with disabilities who are going out of this world and they want healthy seniors. That's what they want to give grants to.
Sure.
And to one little entity that's doing a lot of area, they don't really care because that's not where their money should go. It should be going to bigger things. So
can I interrupt
yes,
you real quick?
Interrupt me.
I just don't want to get ahead of myself here because the reason this is important, folks, and one of the reasons that I wanted Cheri to get into this is that if there were other adult day services in the valley, and there are, they have other funding sources,
Yes,
right? So, but
because
why?
they're health. No, they're
Exact-
not health. We're the only adult day, social adult day care licensed 501c3 by the state of California under Title 22 in all of Tulare County. Have been for 25 years.
And your
And no
funding-
adult day health care is here either.
Correct, correct. So your funding comes from where?
We get one grant for caregivers, caregiver supportive services under Title 22, Title 3E, excuse me, Title 3E, from the federal government.
Okay,
That goes, though, also to Valley Caregivers,
okay.
who has the 5 counties. They get some of that. And it comes through the county. Now, if the government shuts down, we don't see it until the government comes back. And that almost closed us in 2010 because none of that money would come to us. And
Okay.
it was like 5 months of wait. And
Oh,
that was a
wow.
lot of money that piled up. So that's a scary proposition. But we get our money then from fundraising. And I then also MOU with Valley Caregivers and with some other organizations, and talking to insurance companies that understand the dilemma of no health adult day program in Tulare County, that they don't have one. We keep the same stats, so they're opening up their doors to helping a little bit with insurance because they'd rather
Okay.
pay now than later.
Oh,
And
yeah,
PERS
which
is one of those.
Which is what we've always advocated. It just makes much more sense, but it doesn't seem to be what they've wanted to do in the past.
No, but they're
So-
helping a little, and it's paying for some of those days. So I am good at getting into the mud and finding where the money is. It could be a church, it could be to help this person that they know, family members adding a little bit a day, so that we can help that 5 days, which is only $48 a day.
I was just going to ask.
10
what is
hours.
the,
It's been that way forever, and there is extra cost for the transportation. And we do give showers. We have a shower built into one of our bathrooms,
I
which,
remember seeing that,
yes,
yeah.
the city said, no, you can't do that. And I said, we need a mop sink. So we have a mop sink that we've converted into
It's
a
actually quite
really good
large,
shower. Yes,
and,
it is. Very large, has
very
seating.
accessible for anybody in a wheelchair.
It does. So I've learned by the caregivers what their need is. I've learned what the communities need, and that's what we've done. And we're at an average of about 35 a day now. They pass away, they get placed, caregivers wear out and they can't do it anymore. So those numbers go up and down, but the plateau's getting higher. And the baby boomer generation is the highest caregiver population, but only now about 3% higher than the millenniums.
Okay.
Born, I guess it's in 1982 to about 2002-ish. They are now the majority, taking care of mainly grandparents. But the point is that this nation is going to be having to take care of their parents, their grandparents, and it's going to be on the backs of the families, and they're going to need to be trained. It doesn't come naturally to take care of your parents.
That's true.
Grandchildren can do it better. That's why the millenniums are really helping. But you have to learn. So I've been finding ways in the community to train those high school kids best I can, and college kids best I can, to understand the job that's coming as they get sighted for their new life.
All right, I'm going to interrupt you real quick because I knew this would happen. We have so much we could talk about, and you are getting into something that I definitely wanted to bring out and talk about, which is what I'm referring to as kind of a long-term care crisis,
Yes.
which we're in the midst of. And so we're going to take a quick break, though, before we do that, and let you watch a couple of great informational bits, and we'll be right back with Truth for Seniors and Cheri Taylor. And we're back with Truth for Seniors and Cheri Taylor with the Valley Adult Day Services. You know, you started on something that I really want to get into, but before we do, I just want to back up just a minute. Tell me briefly, what type of services does Valley Adult Day Services provide? So I think that's important, that a lot of people don't realize that they're out there.
Yes. Valley Adult Day Services has been in our community for 25 years, actually closer to 30. I've been there for 25 of that. And it started in an old church building and then grew from 2 churches taking care of it out into the public and becoming a part of the community and now a part of Tulare County.
Mm-hmm.
It provides a lot of things that the caregivers have needed. One was the adult daycare, which took care of anybody that was an adult on up to being an elderly, frail elderly, but adults with disabilities, some mental illness, depression, adults who had surgeries and couldn't walk around the house and take care of themselves, so they would come and be with us for a short time. So there's short stays and long stays. Then also added to that was the nutrition program, which gives a complete lunch, which we use and cook ourselves, all of the produce and stuff in the area in the community, and is given to us, donated, and then we make that into meals that follow the licensing requirements and the state requirements. So that has been very helpful. We have our own kitchen, 2 snacks a day, which is important, and everybody's served the same except for the dietary issues, which we take care of also. But we found that that's better than having sack lunches or different things, because if you have dementia or Alzheimer's, you wonder what they have and why you don't have it, and that's not a good thing. We've learned a lot. Also, also transportation, which is a very important issue. So we got our first van, I believe, 9 years ago from Rotary, and we have that all plastered all over the van, and we've driven it all over, plus 2 vans that people give us. Now, they come with their own issues, but we need to get rid of those and now get some more that people can just give us. And this one's getting old because it really, half our clients are out there.
You're going to get
yes,
back,
and bring back, because you can't put them on a bus. You can't put them. Dial-A-Ride does help us. In the Dial-A-Colt, I think we have, is in the vicinity of Porterville, and we're working with them because it's the same, $5. And they drive, they use their cars and gas, and that's been helpful. But over half are outside of that vicinity, so we go and pick them up. And that's worked really well. We have a van driver that comes back onto the floor when they return, and we've got 2 routes. That was something that we picked up. Showers. We also do showers, and that is something, especially with the elderly, that's difficult to do at home. And sometimes we need to do it, and we have our ways that we have learned and can help, and as we're teaching the caregiver how to do it themselves. We have support groups. We have one on the at the vicinity itself, and I do another one on the other side of town, and we reach people kind of that way. And I'm going to just put here that, you know, baby boomers weren't into support groups, but with this particular job, it's very, very important that you have a support group.
Oh, yeah.
That you have people that have been there before, that understand what you're going through and are carrying so you're not carrying the burden all yourself. Once you hear that somebody else has gone through what you've gone through in this particular venue, oh, it's such a relief. It's such validation. And they have ways that they've tried that you didn't realize, because you're in a vacuum. And don't be too hard on yourself, because even professionals cannot do it 24/7. This is something nobody can do 24/7.
Oh, totally.
So support groups, we have workshops. We bring in people from the outside, hands-on workshops, how to communicate with somebody with dementia, how to understand how come you keep hitting that brick wall, how to lift, how to get a positive response more than a negative response. What cloud are they on when you wake up each morning? It seems to be a different one. And how do you incorporate the rest of your life into their life, or their life into your life, and how does that work? Children being involved, grandchildren being involved. It's not an easy task, especially when you have all the buttons in you that are going to be pushed ripely. So support groups are good. One-on-one counseling. a family
You know,
counseling, all of that's free.
I was going to ask you about that because I know a lot of support groups, you know, through Marie and yourself are incredibly helpful, but you find that, you know, there's a need or people are wanting, you know, maybe somebody just to one-on-one have a, you know,
Yes.
somebody to bounce off and maybe some encouragement because sometimes people won't open up and share things. Now, with the support group, I think as they get going, they tend to let their guard down and they actually realize this is a safe place and I'm okay. But they're so busy doing what they have to do that they never are open to somebody saying, hey, I've been there.
Right.
And I think I have a little easier way for you.
And the baby boomers are used to coming into the day program and they go, bloop, they let it all out right at the desk of what's going on in their life for the weekend and what happened. And then when they come back, they do it again and then they will walk out. But you need to sit down and find out some solutions that can be helpful and what might take that stress off because what you don't realize is you're caught in the stress and you have nowhere to release it and you don't want to keep telling your friends the same thing over and over and over again. It just becomes something that turns inward and festers, and caregivers statistically die sooner than the person
About
they're taking
30%
care
of the
of.
time, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So we offer the family counseling, the individual counseling. We do conferences. They stopped for a while because caregivers just didn't take the time to go to the conferences on the weekend anymore, even on Fridays after works. But now they're starting to come back. Tish is doing really good up north. She had one. So we're rethinking that. And there's those conferences are good because they bring in the whole community and outside the community and all the things that are going on that can be out there for you, not just an adult day program. And by the way, when you come to our place, you're not saying, I have to be in this program. You're saying, I need help, what do I do? And we're going to help you find the tools you need and put them in that toolkit so that you can have them at hand to do caregiving better. I think people need to realize that you are a caregiver and accept the fact that there will be caregiving in your life, more than not, and that this is a tool or tools you need to pick up in your life. And it can cause a lot of emotional strain. It can cause the stress, the guilt, so many different kinds of feeling, anger, and that you need to realize that's part of the package and you can't do it alone and you need a place like this to do it in. And we are very grateful that Valley Adult Day Services has stayed this long, and people are the reason it's still here. To me, the higher up is the reason we're still here, because there's so many times I have no idea how to pull it back together when I've walked in and a lot have been placed and a lot have passed on and, okay, why are we here? And it works out. It just seems to continue to go. And I think more of this kind of place that works alongside the caregiver, with the caregiver, that it's a home atmosphere inside, it's personal centered care, meaning
really
that all of their gifts and talents are involved in the program process of those clients so that they feel like it's home, that they volunteer, and that they are able to give the skills of their life to somebody else, and that people want to hear their stories and they're told over and over again. And at the end of all of this, most likely the caregiver is able to walk away knowing that they hold the story of that person, and that even through the good and bad times, because I tell you, I promise you, you will only remember the good times. The bad stuff just kind of melts away. But that good time that you spent with your mom or your dad, that time that you went through, you'll be holding it, and the family will come to you with, who was our grandpa? Who was our dad? Who was our mom? And you'll know that you took the time to do this. And so you who were left behind and had to answer the call to duty are now the one that has the value, the heart right there in your hand of what you did. And you can be very proud of it. And that's what we try to do, is to help you have that feeling at the end of the process.
Wow. Very well said.
Thank you.
Very well said.
I love what I do.
It's obvious, and you're very passionate about it. And the thing that I love about, having been in the caregiving process personally, a couple things. My wife and I looked at it, or had our mother, her mother with us for 4 years, and her dad occasionally, off and on. And it's like, man, we deal with this stuff every day, and we don't have a clue. I mean, and so if we don't, what are other people doing? And then the second thing is that I didn't realize until it was probably too late that I wasn't supporting my wife like I should.
Yeah.
So all the little, extra little mani-pedi and give a break and respite care and all these things were not just a luxury, but now they were almost, a necessity, because sanity obviously is a big thing, and overcoming things like you mentioned, like guilt and worry about the future, and did I do enough? Something happened recently in my own family, and it was actually a family member who said, well, you live 2 hours away, and aren't you concerned that when this person passes, you're going to have some guilt? And I said, not in the least. And they thought I was being smug, and I said, no, I'm great with this person. I've done everything that I can, and I've afforded them, the ability to get into other levels of care and other things that will help them. And we talk almost every day, and I'm good. And plus I know where he's going.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I mean, obviously I will hate that day when it comes, if I don't go first. But no, I don't have that. It's because I've been able to tap into people like you and to Marie with the Alzheimer's Foundation and a few others that have been able to show us, there's such a need to have a team.
Yes.
And I want to take a quick break, but I want to get back to this because, folks, if you're caregiving, Ron's over here lurking in the corner. Some of you know him as our resident long-term care expert, and I'm sure he's realized there's about 14 conversations that we could have just off of this one. But one of the things that we always talk about is the typical caregiver is a 47-year-old female daughter-in-law.
Thank you.
What's her name?
Kathy.
And they even call her that. And, and she's totally stressed. She's got the physical, the medical, the financial, everything that she's concerned about for her loved one. Plus she's married. She's trying to keep a home in place. She might have a kid, still at home. She's maybe had to give up her job to be able to be the caregiver. And then there's a whole issue that you'll appreciate. Are you supposed to be the caregiver or the caretaker, the one who oversees everything?
Yes.
And or the caregiver, or are you both? So you need to have a team, and this is what I want to kind of get back to. We're at Truth for Seniors. Stick around. We'll be right back. And we're back with Truth for Seniors, and I think we've just decided off air, we're going to take about the next 4 hours and just really cover everything, because that's about the time we need. But I really enjoy chatting with you, and your information is always so invaluable. So we will have, obviously, everything up on Truth for Seniors, our YouTube site. You can watch this again. You can share it with everybody. Real quick, I do want to just mention, I offered this today, and I've got a few left. It's an interview that I did on a national financial radio program, and I was asked about long-term care and how to fund it. And they gave it an interesting title that I wish they'd have titled it different, but it's called What the Nursing Home Won't Tell You, How to Get the Best Care Without Losing Your Life Savings. This is free to anybody who hits us up with Facebook or any of those and just says, hey, I want this CD. It's about a half hour, but it's really, really helpful information when you're dealing with a crisis situation about your options for long-term care, skilled therapy, skilled nursing, assisted living. It's going to help you save a lot of time and stress, knowing who to call when and who not to have to worry about. And some of your rights, we squeezed a lot of information into about a 33-minute segment. And so, the interesting thing, the first time we offered this, I had Vicki Reinhold and Melissa Lopez on my show, 2 nursing home administrators, right?
Oh, wow.
And they put the title, What the Nursing Home Won't Tell You. It's supposed to be What They Can't Tell You. And I'm like, oh, you guys are killing me. So I'm like, okay, it's okay, guys. We don't hate you, really. But this is a great tool, and if you hit us up, we'll be glad to send it to you. So, all right, so you said something off air, and I won't get into your whole personal story, but But one of the things that we've talked about is the long-term care crisis and why it's much bigger than anybody's really maybe letting on or realizing, for lack of better words. But also, I want to get into real quick, one of the things that I see a lot and I get asked a lot is, Greg, will you talk to my parent about this? Because the kids have tried, well-meaning and trying to help, but sometimes mom and dad are just really old school, and they've very much prided themselves on the fact that we're independent, we're going to stay independent, not going to be a burden on my kids, which is all wonderful stuff. But at some point, mom and dad have to realize, okay, the kids need to know. But I know that sometimes we're not allowed to help a loved one to the degree that they need. I'm sure you've got some experience with that.
Well, now that I'm sitting back after my own experience, I can come back to what I was feeling and what I've learned and tell my caregivers that come to my facility. Your parents will make you feel that you're not allowed by several different ways and several different reasons, which one, they promise to take care of each other, and they're going to do that. And some parents are very private and don't let their children into their business. So Dad, and by the way, 40% are male caregivers now taking care of their wives. That is very cool. I don't know if you knew that statistic, but ARP came out with
Wow.
that. 40% are men. So they take care of each other and they keep it private. But a lot of things is happening that because they don't know what to do, there can be a lot of safety issues in that aren't right, and not eating enough, not getting out to get food, the right kind of food, falling, slipping. All of those things are happening, and the kids will eventually know that, okay? If you know that your parent isn't safe, and you know that they can't take care of yourself, and in my position right now with a parent who has gone out of the long-term care, assisted living, and got herself back into her home after we finally got her out of her home, we have to wait until it's actually proven that she can't again, that she falls, or that something happens.
Some
Some catastrophic event, which is terrible. I mean, what an awful thing. And then we can go in for the legality of conservatorship. But if you know your parent at home is not safe, and that they're falling, and that they're hurting themselves, you have to become the parent. And I'm saying this strongly. You need to take control of that, even though your parents don't want to lose their independence, and they'll fight like heck. They're supposed to. We're human. I don't want to go to adult daycare. I'll tell you right now. But I have to know in my mind that if that's where I'll be taken care of, then I'm going to have to go. I'm going to have to go where I can afford, what I set up for myself, which we need to all do, set up for the future. I need to go where I am safe and where my monies can take care of me. That's going to have to happen. If you have kids that care enough about you, that want to make you safe,
Absolutely.
that is a wonderful
blessing.
thing. What a blessing you've done that. And yes, kids, they're going to get mad. Yes, kids, they're not going to want to come. I tell the people who come to the adult day program, of course they're not going to want to come, because that's the first thing I get. She's not going to want to come. Of course she's not. But once she gets here and finds friends and finds usefulness and finds that she needs to come to school or needs to volunteer or needs to be a part of art or music or whatever, she'll want to come back.
Yeah.
And therefore you have that respite. But you need to give us a little time to work here and make this true and make this happen. And at most of all is to make you feel that she is safe. Then you are released to go out and do what you need to do. And some people never want to give up control.
Sure.
My mother's one of those. But there are others that will slowly let that happen because they trust it. It's a matter of trust. My mother used that word. I don't trust you anymore because I put her in a place. I understand that. I understand her pain. I understand her physical pain, her mental pain, and her anguish. I'm her daughter. I understand it more than anybody. But she's going to have to go into a facility.
Sure.
She's going to have to be safe. and she cannot die at home like people used to be able to do, APS won't allow that. It's a different world. And I am sorry as anything. I truly am. But what's right is right. That you must be safe. You cannot fall and hit your head on the ground.
Sure.
You need to have services. And I will make sure that you're loved and cared for in the right services. That's what I've come down to. And that's what I have to give to families is you are the parent. You need to pick up and take the reins on this because your parents need you to, just as they did for you when you were children.
I was just thinking about that.
When you
it's
left
just
them
a
the
role
first day for
reversal.
kindergarten. We're not saying their children by any means. This is an adult. But it's the same idea of you turning away and allowing the school to take them for the first time. That's a rough thing. So we have to learn how to do it. Caregiving is not something that comes naturally to most people. And you might even think you can do it, but you need a support, as you said, a family. And the right
You really
tools.
need a team,
A
you
team
know?
to do what
And-
they do well.
Yeah,
Each
you really
one.
do.
And you think about your neighbors and your church friends and all of that, and you think, oh, but, I don't want to overuse them. I don't want... No, you make a list of what you need. I need this, 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 and this. I need somebody to take her to the movies. I need somebody to take her to the doctor. I need somebody to sit with her and read a book. The church member or the family member makes up their mind. The neighborhood makes up their mind of what they do best, and they fill it in. You don't ask, they fill it in. Then they're doing what they want to do and what their gift is, and they feel really good about it. And people need to feel good about giving and about sharing and about
absolutely.
helping the neighbor. If they go and they say, well, I could read a story, so you go and you read a story and say, walk out and say, wow, that was good for me. I might do that again.
And you talked, I know, in another conversation we had recently about a gentleman that was really great at woodworking and that, probably wasn't able to do anything at home, but could go to the community, if you will, and his friends there and talk about it, maybe even do a few light things or show him how he would do it. And all of a sudden he comes to life because he's able to talk about something that he enjoys. People appreciate what he's giving.
Darn
I think that's
right.
huge.
It's really, really huge. But then you get to the point where you're sitting around the table and you bring out their biographies of what they and their gifts and talents, and you start reading one, and the men are all looking at you like, okay. And I said, "That was you, Mr. McGillicuddy. That's what you did." He goes, "I did? Wow, good for me." And then they all start laughing and talking about
Yeah,
that because then I'll
sure.
tell them their stories because I'm the keeper of the stories. What a wonderful thing. The story's the whole point. You don't want to end your life without your story being carried over of what you did in your life. What did you give of your life to others? What did you do with your life? And if the story's told to the family with new eyes, as the adult day program can do, we tell the story to them of the hope and the light and the wonderful things because they're caught in the, oh my gosh, the awful things.
Yeah,
That's all they
exactly,
see.
Sure.
And we can give that story back.
Wow, that is really cool. That's
It
really
is
cool. And what a privilege, it really is. We again talk about all the difficulties and the burden, which are very real. But when your loved one passes, and when you are talking to your kids and grandkids about your loved one, and they're watching you, you're training them to be your caregiver. They need to see that you were all in.
Yeah.
Because that's something that is, at the end of the day, we have to feel good about who we are and, like you say, what we've done. But folks, it's, it's tiresome and it's,
All
it's
in
real
doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be the
to
one
do
doing
it
it.
all. Exactly.
You might not be a caregiver, and it's okay to say, no, it's not me. We need to find another way to do this because it's not me. Now, I can make sure she's cared for. I can make sure the financials are okay. I can make sure that all the health people are the right people, but the one-on-one, day by day is not me. So how can we as a family decide who that might be or what that might be so that she's safe? But it doesn't have to be you doing that particular job. Your job is to help make sure that something happens to make it right. And there's so many ways to do that.
Yeah.
So many
Absolutely.
ways.
Absolutely. Wow, this is so rich. So we're going to take a real quick and final break, and we'll be right back with Cheri Taylor with the Valley Adult Day Services and Truth for Seniors. I'm Greg Steen, and we are back and just enjoying a really great show today. I think this is going to go down as, they say, an instant classic. So we're joined by Ron Killian, who some of you know is kind of our resident long-term care expert, and just having a discussion about the pending long-term care crisis. And so you had a comment and a question.
Right. I really appreciate using that word as pending crisis. And being a financial consultant, I remember one of my early trainers, he said, Ron, long-term care insurance basically helps people avoid the crisis, management
Yes.
crisis of long-term care. So going forward,
Yes.
how do we take care of some of this stuff?
We need to know that we're going to be a caregiver. Please know that you can't avoid it. You will have to make decisions as a caregiver, whether you do it yourself or somebody else does it, but you will be responsible for somebody in your family once, twice, and somebody at some point is going to be responsible for you. So the point here is, I guess, for the pending crisis, to be responsible. You know, I teach high school kids, please, do your parents have their living will? Do they have their trusts done? Do they have their power of attorneys done for health and financial? Do they have all those things in a safe place where you know where it is? It can be updated, it can be changed, but get it done. You have the rights as a person to plan your death. You have that right to make sure you know what's going to happen. You have that right to get it paid for ahead of time, so your kids don't have to worry about that piece. But let your kids know what your thoughts and plans are and get it done. And kids, you should have all of that done for yourself too, because something can happen to you too, and then they know what to do for you. It's our world today. So get that ready and start thinking as you grow older what the end of your life looks like. Get an A plan, a B plan, a C plan. Start talking to advisors around who can help you. So I'm sitting in the middle of right here. Just be responsible and note that what is your role going to be in that, and financially be ready, because there's not going to be health out there with the state and the federal government. I can tell you right now, it's too expensive of a thing. And because dementia, especially in Alzheimer's, isn't a brain type ailment, that's not, they have no money for that, and they're not going to have homes available or enough long-term care facilities available if they started to build them today for the need that's going to be in the future. So families need to start learning how to take care of themselves. Even if you're spread out all over the world, you can learn how to do that. You can get the tools. We have computers now, we have Facebook, we have all of these ways to communicate. Get into the know, okay, and learn what to do. And we all right here are sitting here because we are caregivers, and we've been down there and have done it and are working in the middle of it. So we know it's real, and we're speaking from the heart, and we're trying to tell you that those of us who've been through it know how to be there with you as you go through it, because it's a big responsibility and a big undertaking, and the end can be wondrous if you find the tools you need. Education, education, education. That's what I say at this moment. Now, next time I talk, it might be different. I'm learning by the seat of my pants. Baby boomers learn by the seat of their pants.
Well, you know, I found it interesting also. You pointed out that 40% of men are the providers of care. And being a man,
Yes.
I know that I'm supposed to do this by myself.
No, and they do walk in with that. But you know, they're one of, I think men have been some of our very best caregivers, because, you know, when men love, they love passionately, and they do carry it through, and they have been we have helped them the most, because they've come back and come back and come back and carried it to the bitter end. I love the way that men caregive. I love it very much. And wives, treat your man good. There you go.
Yeah. I've had a long time interest in psychology and why people do what they do and why they think how they think. And one of the things I've learned about men is that shame, one of the deeper motivators, and the man's version of shame is fear of appearing to be weak. And so my concern would be a man would try and go this alone out of fear of appearing to be weak, that I don't need help, whereas we all need help.
And that's where I've had a lot of the family members come in and come around the table and say, you know, Dad's trying to do this on his own. Dad's trying to take care of Mom, but, you know, he cannot do it. He cannot get her into the bathtub alone. He cannot get the right meals. He needs help and our support. And we've got working jobs, and we've tried to split it among the family, but it's not working. Once he trusts that we are taking care of this for him the way he would, once he knows that he's a part
Yeah.
of this and there's no shame or guilt, that there's so many of us struggling with this ourselves,
Absolutely.
and knows that we can help him feel strong and take the shame away and help him stand up straight and be proud of what he's doing, he'll be okay.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
feel good about
Yes,
what's happening.
and feel good. Doesn't
Excellent.
matter what age you are. It doesn't matter what gender you are. Doesn't matter what culture you are. Alzheimer's and dementia doesn't care. Okay, so when a crisis happens, and crisis doesn't care, all of us know what it feels like to be human, and that's the point here. We're human,
Yeah.
and we're responsible for somebody, and truly responsible. They cannot do anything for themselves. Not being able to think for yourselves and losing your story is the most, I can't even imagine how, that's the worst thing that can happen and still be here. That is human, to
Absolutely.
take care of them in any fashion
Well
and
said.
want to do it right.
Yep, yep. Wow. Guys, this has been really, really rich, and I appreciate both of you being here. And Cheri, you're, as always, just a real breath of fresh air and a very, very informative and helpful subject.
hope
and
so.
You betcha. Yeah, so, and we will have you back. So, folks, I think you can see that, we're pretty passionate about what we bring to you and what we try to help in the way of education and understanding. And so this has been an incredible time. If you are a caregiver, if you know that it's coming, if you even have a thought that it might be coming, start now. Get your education in process. Help understand. There's lots of resources, lots of tools, things you can do to get the right information. So we've got to run. This is Truth for Seniors. So glad that you joined us today, and we will
you.
bet.
see
My
you
pleasure.
all next week, Wednesday at 2, right here on Central Valley Talk.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Truth for Seniors is brought to you by Angela Leone Enterprises. Compassionate, exceptional care from angels who care.
This segment is brought to you by Mike Briggs Properties. The recession's over. It's now safe to sell your home. Call Mike Briggs Properties.
CentralValleyTalk.com